Hello. Today we are going to be working in the Encore Mathematics Workbook. You need to open up to page 363. This is section 9.2, Data Distributions and Outliers. And make sure you have a calculator out. That way you can do the work along with me as you watch the video. On page 363, there's an example problem that reads just like this. It says 12 employees at a small company make the following annual salaries in thousands of dollars. Part A in the example problem tells us to create a line plot of the data. So how do we do that? Well, first you draw a line just like the one I have right here. Then you need to draw in these little tick marks because these represent your scale. For this problem, I chose to make my scale range from 20 to 70 because I know that all my data up here falls between the values 20 and 70. And again, I chose to go up by 5. Next, when using a line plot, we want to plot the data values right here on the line. So I'm going to use these blue X's. So I take my first X and I plot it right on my 25. So this X represents that I have one 25 data value. I do the same with the 30. I take it, draw my X right on the 30. So you would be drawing yours in with a pencil. Then I go to 35 and plot my blue little X over the 35. But I have another 35. So what do? I just stack it right on top of my first X. Same with my third 35. So as you can see, up here I have 1, 2, 3 35s right here, and I have 3 X's plotted above 35 on my number line. Now I have 3 40s, so I should end up with 3 X's right here above my 40s. So again, you plot an X for each data value that you're given. So let me plot my ones for 40. Now when I go to 45, I only have 2, so I only have to plot 2 X values over my 45. So I need one more here. And then 50 only has 1, so it only needs 1 X. And again, 60 only has 1, so it only needs 1 X. Now when I scroll down here to problem B, it gives us this table and it wants us to complete the table. It says we need to round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. So the first thing we're asked to do in this table is to find the mean. So how do we find the mean? Well, in our last section we learned that we take all our data values that were given and we add them together. So take a moment to do that on your calculator before I reveal the answer that we should have gotten for adding all our data values together. Alright, when you add all of those data values together, you should get the number 480. So that means all our data values sum up to 480. Now what do we do to get the mean? Well, we need to take that 480 and we need to divide it by something, and what we divide it by is the amount of data values we have. And at the beginning it told us that we had 12 data values. So we need to divide 480 by 12. So take a moment to do 480 here divided by 12 on your calculator. When you take 480 divided by 12, you should get 40. So then go up to your table and put in the mean box 40, because that is our mean. Now that we have found our mean, which again is 40, we're going to find the median. So I'm going to take one of my crosses here and I'm going to cross off my lowest value of 25. So cross off your lowest value in your book, the 25. Then I'm going to go to the highest value of 60 and cross that one off as well. So so I crossed off 60. Then I go back to my next lowest number, 30, cross that one off. Then I go to my next highest number, which was 50, and cross that off. And I keep doing this till I get to the center of my data. So I'm going to keep crossing off X's, one on each side. Again, you should be doing this in your book, crossing off your X's with me. But once I cross off this 40, I'm still left with two X values. And I can't cross both of them off or I'll have nothing. And we learned before that if we have an even amount of data values, that we have to find the center or the mean of the two values that are in the middle of our data. So it looks like we have two 40s. So what we do is we take 40 and we add 40 to that, since those are our two middle values. Well, that gives us 80. But then we just take 80 and divide it by 2, because this is 1, 2 data values, and we get 40. So our median is just 40. Now that we have found the median, we need to find the range, as that's next in our table. We take the highest value and we subtract from it the lowest value. So our highest value is 60 and our lowest value is 25. So do 60 minus 25 on your calculator and you should get 35. So we go back to our table and we type in 35. Next, we need to find the IQR. But in order to find the IQR, we need to find Q1 and Q2. Now remember, Q1 is the median of the lower half of the data values, and Q3 is the median of the upper half of the data values. So in order to find Q1, I'm going to separate my data values right here, because we don't want to include the median. And we know the median is where this purple bar is, because we found the median as the halfway point between the two 40s. So I'm going to find the median of the lower half of my data values by just crossing out my X's again. So I'm going to cross off this X with a purple bar. I'm going to cross off this X with a purple bar, just like how we found the median of all the data values before. I'm going to cross off this X with a purple bar, and I'm going to cross off this X with a purple bar, and then I'm still left again with two data values, these ones right here hidden underneath these black bars. So that's a 35X and a 35X. So now I have to find the halfway point between 35 and 35. Well, I just do like I did before, and I do 35 plus 35, and that gives me 70. Then I take 70 and divide it by 2, and that just gives me back 35. Now I need to find Q3, and I'm going to use these brown cross-off marks to indicate my X's that I'm crossing off for Q3. So I'm going to start with this X value right here, right under the purple bar, and then I'm going to start with this 60X value, and I crossed both of those off, one on the left, one on the right. Then I'm going to cross off this other 40X, and then I'm going to cross off this 50, so one high, one low, or one low, one high. But then again, I'm left with two data values in the middle of my me finding my Q3 of my upper half of my data. And that's these two 45s. So again, same process. Do 45 plus 45, and that gives me 90. Well, then I just take 90 divided by 2, and I should get 45. Let me bring that up on this line. There we go. And now I can find my IQR. Q3 minus Q1 is 45 minus 30, and it's 45 minus 35, and then 45 minus 35 gives us 10. So 10 right here is my IQR. That's my interquartile range. So I'm going to put 10 right in my table. Lastly, we need to use our line plot to find the standard deviation. So I'm going to scroll all the way down here. I put all my data values in the table. That's the 12 data values that we were given at the start of the problem. So I just put those in their own column. Now we know that our mean is 40, and I need to find the deviation away from the mean. So I take my 25, which is my data value over here, my 25, and I subtract 40 from that. And 25 minus 40 gives us a negative 15. For the next data value, I just take the 30, I subtract 40 from it, 40, not 49, and I get negative 10. And then you just keep going. Now we take these data values that we got from in our deviation from the mean column and put them into the squared column, the squared deviation column. So I take my 15, or my negative 15, and I put it in parentheses. That way I know to take the negative both times. That way I know to do negative 15 times the negative 15. Then I take the negative 10, put it inside my parentheses with a square. I put my negative 5 in my parentheses and square that. And I take my other negative 5 and square that. And my other negative 5 and square that. And just all the way down. And then I just use my calculator or do some mental math. And I get negative 15 squared. Again, a negative times a negative is a positive, and that gives me 225. Now that we have found our squared deviations, we need to find the mean of those squared deviations. So to find the mean of these new data values that we came up with, we do the same thing that we did when we found the mean before up above. We take those data values and we add them together. Do that. And when you add all those data values together, you should have gotten 950. And then to find the mean, we just take that 950, we divide it by how many data values there were. So 950 divided by 12, do that real quick, and we should get that that equals 950 twelfths. I would leave it in fraction form, actually. Leave it in the fraction form until we're all the way done. So 950 twelfths. And we're almost done. We almost have our standard deviation, and we do that by taking the square root of our mean of our squared deviations. So this was the mean, this 950 divided by 12 of our squared deviations. So we take the square root of that 950 divided by 12, and then now when you do that, so square root 950 divided by 12, make sure the whole 950 divided by 12, or the 950 twelfths, is in underneath the radical. And when you do that, you should get 8.90. And now we can use a decimal. So 8.90 is our standard deviation. I go back to my table and write in 8.90. And that is all we have to do for our example problem. Now you need to work on the reflect 1A through 1C at the bottom of page 363 and bring all the notes you took from this lesson with you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.